Well, I guess I felt like it was appropriate to go ahead and give you an updated mock draft. It's been a couple of weeks. I think I did one at the end of the regular season, and now we're through the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. So yeah, a couple of weeks. I'll probably do one right after the Super Bowl, right? And then we'll start to figure out when I start doing these on a weekly cadence and when I start doing scouting reports. In terms of scouting reports for this year's draft, we'll see how many I'm going to get done, if I'm going to be able to get many done. I will try though, folks. I will tell you, I will try to get some done, some. But it's a time investment, and you got work, and you got school, like other stuff, and it's just hard to fit all of it in. So I'll do my best. I would like to at least get through some of the top, so-called with this draft class, top quarterbacks, um, running backs, offensive, defensive line, and then we'll see from there, right? I don't know what to tell you. I can certainly tell you I'll try and get some in. I've been thinking about like other NFL draft related content, especially to help fill the void. Maybe if I don't get so many scouting reports in, thinking about, you know, bringing back some Q&A videos in the next few over the next few months, like sprinkle in one or two a month. That would be nice, I think. You guys can let me know in the comments if you want some Q&A action back. Also thought about doing some NFL draft myth videos. Because sometimes you hear things about the draft and you're like, is that really true, or is that just something that's become true and you just kind of accept it? You know, like, or is it just flat out false and people believe a really dipshit narrative? Could be a mix of that, right? So I might start in a couple of weeks, maybe in early February, start with an NFL draft myth series of videos, maybe do like 1 week, one every 2 weeks. I don't know. Like I'm thinking about it right now though. But anyways, on to this mock draft. One round edition. I wanted to hurry up and kind of get this quick hitter in. And thing that stands out to me is I look at this class and I'm not the only one that doesn't come away like thinking, wow, or this class is awesome. Like last year's draft class, you knew, especially at the top, like that shit was loaded. It was full of studs. And you had a pretty good reason to believe that that draft class was going to be really, really good. Like you got Brock Bowers going 13th, Jared Verse went like 19th, right? Like these are legit studs and they're going in the teens. And you look at this draft and you would say, shit, those guys would be at least top 5 talents in this draft, if not top 3 talents. And yeah, like I always say, you look at a lot of draft classes and you look at them and say, you know, the strength, a big part of that is based on the quarterback class. And you look at the 2024 draft, you've got Jaden Daniels, and you've got Caleb Williams, you've got Drake May, you've got Bo Nix, and we'll still see what we get out of Michael Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy. But that quarterback class could be really damn good, if not special, right? And you look at all the other kind of special players that were drafted throughout, like, but the quarterback class makes a big difference. And you look at this draft and you say, this quarterback class feels anything but special. Like maybe there's one franchise quarterback here, but this would not be the draft that I'd be super eager to be having a top 1, 2, 3 pick and looking to one of these quarterbacks to say I feel 100% confident that they're going to be the guy. Now, I could come back in a month or so and study Shedeur more closely or Cam Ward more closely and say, yeah, I think these guys, one of these guys or both of these guys could be franchise quarterbacks, and we're dismissing them here. But in general, the overall depth of this quarterback class is not nearly as good as last year's, and I certainly don't think the top of this quarterback class is nearly as good as last year's. That's where I stand at it right now. But the Tennessee Titans have the first pick, and they're going to have to take quarterback. Will it be Shedeur or will it be Cam Ward? For now, I think it's Shedeur. We'll see. Lots to play out over the next 3 months or so. But it leaves you with the Cleveland Browns, and, you know, obviously Deshaun Watson, even before he retore his Achilles, probably doing shit he wasn't supposed to because it's Deshaun, so of course he is. You know, you had to be looking at quarterback here in this spot. But then you wonder, like, would they be one of those teams that would go bring in Kirk Cousins? Certainly possible. Certainly possible, especially with Stefanski's system. You know, would they go and sign a Sam Darnold? Possibly, but maybe more of Kirk Cousins and bringing him in. and maybe that's what they would do for the time being because maybe they're not impressed with either of these quarterbacks. Maybe they would sit there and coax somebody like the Giants or the Raiders to trade up with them and say, hey, like, we're going to punt for a year on quarterback here in round 1. Maybe they'll take a guy like Jalon in round 2 or something like that. And they'll just go with what they feel like is the best player in the class, which might be Travis Hunter from Colorado. This would be something, though, to have Shedeur and Travis Hunter go 1-2 in the draft. Certainly possible, right? Which puts the Giants here at 3, and I didn't bother projecting any trades or anything, so just everybody staying where they are and just taking players. Cam Ward, like, the Giants have to come out of this draft at the quarterback. It does feel like it's a recipe for real concern, if not disaster, that Brian Daboll's potentially on the hot seat. General Manager Joe Schoen is on the hot seat and certainly deserves to be on the hot seat. And you got a coach and a general manager on the hot seat, and you're drafting a quarterback high, should be a real big concern. Similar to what it was with the Bears in the 2021 draft with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy on the hot seat, and they go ahead and trade up to draft Justin Fields. Like, not a good scenario, but we'll see how this goes. Then you get to New England at 4, and you can certainly say, like, they need to go offensive line because protecting Drake May is a priority, and I certainly don't disagree with that, but you have to question, like, where's the value? Like, there's a little bit of a value thing, and if there's nobody that's really worth anybody trading up for, like, who do you take? And maybe, again, it's Abdul, the edge from Penn State. He feels like he would be a difference maker, and bringing in Revel, I can certainly see him looking at Carter and saying, that's my franchise guy, along with Christian Gonzalez on the defensive side of the ball. For the Jags, like, they look at a guy like Mason Graham maybe and say, hey, you could pair him with Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, and you've got something pretty nice on that defensive line and could be a part of helping turn around that defense really quickly in Jacksonville, and that certainly could hold true. I don't think anybody looks at those top 5 picks that I have and find those super controversial. What would probably be the first kind of controversial thing would be having Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State, going 6 to the Raiders. And look, like, this is a no-win scenario for the Raiders if they don't find a way to get a quarterback this offseason. But let's assume for the moment that they don't. What do? Well, they sat there at 13 and took Brock Bowers, and that really worked out well. Well, if you're going to be stuck with the mid-ass quarterback, you better get him premium weapons around him at this point. You know, they really missed Josh Jacobs this past season. Why the fuck not Ashton Jeanty? Like, seriously. Why the fuck not? Because if you look at most any other player that the Raiders will probably take here, they're not going to have this type of big game, like game-changing type of potential that a Jeanty does. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I certainly wouldn't dismiss the possibility. That's all I'm saying. And then as you go down, like, we get to the Bears, and I keep landing on Josh Simmons from Ohio State, the offensive tackle. Like, I'm sorry, Bears fans. Yes, this team needs to invest heavily in the trenches, and I anticipate they're going to invest somewhat heavily. Then better fucking invest heavily in the trenches on the offensive line in the interior in free agency. But we got to stop pretending like Braxton Jones is a legit starter. He's an average at best starter. He is upgradable. And Josh Simmons, from a ceiling and upside standpoint, represents a potentially sizable upgrade over Braxton Jones. You could have Josh Simmons as a potentially elite blindside protector for Caleb, as the bookend tackle for Darnell Wright, who's a higher end right tackle now. You got to do that versus Braxton Jones being maybe an average guy that's a year away from you having to pay him too much to be an average guy. Like, you got your Charles Leno type here. Like, feel free to upgrade the Charles Leno type is what I'm trying to say. Now, what I will say is, as many Bears fans that are going to just, like, stubbornly stick to the it's got to be offensive line, it's got to be offensive line. Yeah, that has to be the priority, obviously. When you look at Caleb Williams, when you look at the hiring of Ben Johnson, for what Caleb does, the offensive line is critically important. For what Ben Johnson wants to do offensively, it's critically important. But you can't neglect the defensive line either, because as you're watching these teams in the playoffs, you know, one of the things that stands out is some of them that are successful are able to get pressure with their front four. And the Bears can't fucking do that. So if the talent is there and you have invested heavily in the offensive line in free agency, you've got pick 10, but you've got back-to-back picks in round 2. You've got a pick in round 3. There are other picks that you can utilize here. If the better player at pick 10 is an edge rusher, then you've got to take him. If the better player is a three technique or some type of defensive tackle that perfectly fits the new defensive coordinator scheme, whoever that may be, maybe it's Dennis Allen, I don't know at the time of this recording, and then that's what you got to take. So Bears fans, I just ask you, like, keep an open mind here. It doesn't have to be an offensive lineman. Yes, that would be the preference. Yes, that would be the right way to go in one respect. But you can't take a much lesser offensive tackle. And the whole notion around, well, then you just trade down and accumulate more picks. Yeah, but that takes a dance partner, and who would be worth it at that point? And to those saying, well, Josh Simmons would be a risk with the injury, he certainly would be. But the upside is fucking there, and you might have to roll the dice. As I look at this draft, again, I'm struck by the depth at the top in terms of the offensive line class and the defensive line / edge rusher class. That's where the strength of this draft in round one is. That's really where the strength is. It's pretty weak at quarterback. I think this running back class is good, but more in like the day two territory. Jeanty's like a clear step above, is what a lot of people think. There's talent here, but you really want to use this draft, go into this draft if you're looking for talent on the offensive line and the defensive line. And this is the right draft to be a part of. And thankfully for the Bears, that's what they need. And it aligns well. The needs align well with the talent on the board. We will see. You can take a look at my mock below and criticize it all you want. It's whatever. We got 3 more months or so until the NFL draft. But that's all I got for now.